I'm David Volk, a voice of the resistance, albeit a strange and funny one. Today's post, top scandals we could have had. The happiness of Harris versus the madness of Trump. As I look back on all the scandals of the Biden administration, I'm realizing there really weren't any scandals. No, really. Think about it. There was the discovery that President Biden still had secret government papers that didn't belong to him, and he returned them. His son was prosecuted on weapons and tax charges, but that was his son, and he always played the loving dad, being supportive, but not letting him off the hook. It was simply a time of quiet, competent leadership by a quiet, competent leader. Which is to say, boring! Let's take a minute to think about that. Governing was boring because it functioned like the government was supposed to function. The only real shit show in those days was on the Republican side, where they kicked up as much dirt as they could to keep Biden from accomplishing his goals to surprisingly little effect. Because, Dark Brandon, compare that to now, 5 months in, when there's a scandal almost every day. Troop movements being relayed over unsecured channels, people who are in charge of the nuclear arsenal getting fired, planes falling from the sky, dogs and cats living together in sin. It didn't have to be that way, though. If only we'd elected Kamala Harris, things would have been different. I'm not saying there wouldn't have been scandals, they just would have been more fun. Here's just a sampling of the things that would have set tongues a-wagging in a Harris Walz administration. 1. The Happy Clappy scandal. Fox News and the cons get very angry when they see how much Harris and Walz laugh while governing the country, despite all the challenges facing them and their uphill battle to deliver on their campaign promises. The folks at Fox insist it's because the administration doesn't really realize how bad things really are. 2. The weirdo backlash. Tim Walz's campaign focusing on how weird Republicans are prompts cons to turn the tables and launch a campaign showing how strange Dems are. The smear fizzles when Dems embrace their oddity, then point and laugh at a party that was weird enough to support Trump and Project 2025 in the first place. They still hate that. 3, wardrobe malfunction. Cons laugh at Harris's colorful wardrobe, calling it unpresidential, until a Trump tell-all reveals that he not only never changed his look, he never changed his suit. 4, dementia detailed. Jake Tapper writes book claiming press failed to cover the declining mental health of the former president. Pundits complained Tapper waited to profit off his insider knowledge when the rapidly advancing dementia was already apparent during the presidential debate he hosted. While Biden appeared ill, Trump's rantings about things that hadn't happened made it clear he was definitely slipping. Trump supporters say the debate proved Biden had already lost it. Even if Biden was off, Dems compare the successes of his presidency to Trump's failures to prove that Joe hired, quote, only the best people and had the good sense to get out of the race. Trump responded by ranting about trophy wives, DEI, and his big wonderful bill. No, wait, that's the speech he said he would have given at West Point if he'd been president. 5, it's raining planes. There wouldn't have been an airplane helicopter crash over D.C., of course, because no Secretary of Defense in his right mind would have scheduled maneuvers over D.C. at night. But given the stress the system in Newark is under, a crash was bound to happen at some point. Harris would have responded by taking the unusual approach of spending more money and hiring more air traffic controllers instead of Trump's approach of firing even more FAA employees. 6. I think it's 6. Too much hope. Republicans become incensed when homebuyer subsidies and cancellation of student loan interest debt not only gives people more free time, it encourages many of them to run against entrenched Republican lawmakers and win. Worse, it actually makes many people happy, and cranky cons, slogan, no you can't, cranky cons hate that. 7. Back on the chain gang. Investigations into the January 6th insurrection continue, eventually tracing their way back to congresspersons and senators and Dementia J, no collusion Trump. Arrests follow. Although Trump's resounding landslide loss brings on the onset of full-on dementia, a brief brouhaha breaks out when Harris refuses to intervene on a humanitarian basis when Trump is found guilty of insurrection and other charges and imprisoned for life. Fox and the few remaining Republicans howl. Trump also howls, but it later turns out the adult former president was merely barking at the moon. 8. Indicting a ham sandwich. Photos of first husband Doug Emhoff appearing to eat a ham sandwich during Yom Kippur inflamed Jews across the globe until further investigation proves that the photo was doctored. Not only does he not have an MS-13 tattoo on his knuckles, but he wasn't eating ham. He was eating tofurkey. This is what we could have had, America. Oh well. Better luck next time. If there is a next time. I've been David Volk, a voice of the resistance, albeit a strange and funny one.